Look, it was, there were two things that I said when I believed that I stop having a voice that can actually do things in the system is probably when I'm going to go, and also when I stop enjoying the world of politics, I'll also go. They both coincided actually over the course of this pandemic, and it's just shown that the institutions of democracy that we thought were there for the protection of the people are just not working. And look, there's a lot of reasons I think that that's the case. The central one being that politics is downstream of culture, and we've got a pretty corrupted culture at the moment that's caused the explosion in pandemic insanity that we've seen over the last 18 months to 2 years, Gareth.
So was it the last 2 years then that really sort of sparked that decision, or was it something that perhaps you were considering before? You know, you'd seen, like you're saying, various things, and this was maybe the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, look, this probably was the tip of the iceberg, but I think that there was an acceleration of I just can't describe it as anything else other than insanity, policy insanity, like we've never seen before. I'm probably being a bit, I'm not sure what the term is, but incorrect in saying insanity, because that sort of indicates that the reasons that a lot of this were happening were because of madness. But I don't think that they were. I think that what we're seeing is a movement away from what Western liberal democracies were supposed to be about towards a woke mob democracy. And I use the word democracy pretty loosely. We're seeing wokeism, as they call it, to capture a whole range of institutions. We've known it's captured the media for a long, long time, but now it's captured corporate institutions as well. And then we have, of course, sitting across all of that, the World Economic Forum Great Reset agenda, which is really about the fusion of big government with big business. And in that paradigm, the little people don't get a look in whatsoever.
I think you've just got to look at the fact that this has actually been going on for like 8 years. You know, they are circumnavigating it all because there's not a massive great deal to show, because they're not really in the thick of it like they would have been in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I think, again, that's just another question people should be asking themselves. There's no air-to-air combat. They say about, you know, Russia's invading Ukraine when in fact its borders were never signed over and become sovereign in 1991. So can you invade your own country? They don't ask any of these questions, and again, it's just slammed with Russian totalitarianism, you know, and the way they see it on the actual Ukrainian people. But the reality is the Ukrainians have been bombing their own people for the last 8 years, especially in Donbass.
Yeah, people don't speak about that, about the death of people in 2014, killing civilians and stuff. They also don't talk about the fact when they say Putin, you know, he controls the media, he arrests journalists and stuff, when Zelensky does exactly the same thing. But it seems to be okay when he does it, because he's an absolute poster boy at the minute. Well, what do you make of the volunteers from all over the world, including Britain, that are going over to the Ukraine now to fight with the Ukrainians?
I just think they're not fully well informed, and you know, I genuinely wish they were. Just like I wish people, you know, well informed over the last couple of years. But here we are. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day: is the people having the right, credible information to make an informed decision. So they've made a decision based off what's been drummed down their throats, and you know, the media narrative that's been dispelled all around the UK, and a lot of it's off the back of that. But again, you got to look at the people and say, well, you know, fair enough. You've got a big heart. You know, you're going to try and do what you think's right. You know, you can't knock that. But I think in general, from the British government, it's quite hypocritical, because they were outright trying to, you know, and going all out to arrest people that went to Syria to fight against ISIS and stuff like that. So, you know, that was, you know, frowned upon, whereas this seems to be okay.
Yes, we are. And no, we don't need movements. We don't need initiatives, and we don't need organizations, and we certainly don't need governments and churches. So I thank you for raising the key point here. We don't need any of the above. I mount initiatives in answer to my own calling, and I've done it consistently over many years. And I do it because I am the one trying to organize in my own life, within my own hologram, some semblance of navigation out of the kingdom of the devil. And so long as what I'm doing is of consequence to those around me, it becomes a meme or it becomes a pattern, and then it becomes needfully an initiative or an enterprise or an organization. But then those things are very short-lived. Like I said 10 years ago, I said, if the New Earth exists in 10, 12 years from now as a brand, I will have failed in my enterprise, because I'm not trying to create another collectivist idea of anything. So I agree with your more quantum egalitarian idea that we don't need any of the above. Having said that, it is crystal clear that in the great era of Fauciism and satanic governments casting a luciferic thrall over the entire planet through their orchestration of evil and witchery and genetic interventionism, it is crystal clear to me that we do indeed need to be able to self-organize ourselves out of that kingdom of the devil. So to that extent, possibly we do still need to make use of systems and apparatus that are of our own devise, and not ones that are a dragnet pulling us into their thrall, so to speak.
That's something that's been a shock to me. I don't know if any of you have thought this as well, with the fact that musicians, especially like rock musicians, are supposed to be kind of alternative, and they've been silent throughout most of this.
Yeah, it could be the labels, it could be the certain controls that they're under, but we've got none of that, and that's why we're here to stay. We are the music revolution. This is a totally new chapter in music history.
Excellent.
As it is a totally new chapter for many people in history, in different careers and different philosophies. So it's really great to be part of it.
I never thought I'd be doing anything like this. So yeah, you're right. Yeah. Completely. What was it like then, touring and playing around that whole time when restrictions were on?
So just as after I founded it, I did a few gigs to kind of like spread the word about what was going on, and then I decided, you know what, there was this whole like 8 mile or 7 mile rule where you couldn't go, and I went, you know what, I'm not having any of that. I'm going to fundraise to get a motorhome for rent for a few weeks, and we're going to tour around the whole of the UK and Ireland if we can. And we did it, and we met some amazing musicians along the way. David actually joined us when we toured in Ireland for the first time, and we were the only touring band in Ireland. So it's just been an incredible experience. It's been, obviously adversity. Those gigs when we'd have to kind of beeline out of Hyde Park because we were surrounded by 23 police vans that were then the right police were slowly encircling in, and we had to kind of make that decision, like, guys, grab a cymbal, grab a drum, we're going to go to that exit, we're going to go, and then loaded it up in Eric Clapton's van that he lent us. So it was pretty rock and roll.